Can you see me, Lee?
I can see you, Dad. You have the Aurora Borealis floating behind you.
Well, that's wonderful.
And we're in chapter 21, section 2. Have at it, Papa.
I'm having a little problem here. I don't know if I need. Oh, God, there it is. Oh, look at that lovely background.
All right.
Right, we're in the light. Perhaps you don't see the need for you to give this little offering of asking for the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Look closer then at what this asking for the guidance of the Holy Spirit truly is. And very simply, see in the asking a whole exchange of separation for salvation. All that the ego is an idea that it is possible that things could happen to the Son of God without the Son's will, and thus without the will of the Son's Creator, whose will cannot be separated from the Son's own will. This is the Son's God. This is the Son of God's replacement for his will, which is shared with God. This attempted substitution by the ego of a will other than God's will for the sonship is an insane, mad, ridiculous revolt against what must forever be, which is the oneness of the will of God. This is the statement that the split-minded Son has the power to make God powerless, supposedly, and so to take God's power for himself and leave himself without what God has willed for the split-minded sonship. This belief that there is a will different from God's will is the ridiculous, mad idea that you have enshrined upon your altars and which you worship. And anything that threatens this idea of the egoic usurping of the power and will of God seems to attack your faith. For here, in the belief in separation, is your faith invested. Think not that you are faithless, for your belief and trust in the separation is strong indeed.
When we ask for guidance for the Holy Spirit, excuse me, guidance of the Holy Spirit, each time we ask for guidance of the Holy Spirit, we're choosing for the rejection of the egoic thought system, our little reaction-based emotional self. This change in which thought system we will support. In other words, which of those two kinds of ideas are we going to feed? Guidance from the Holy Spirit or thinking that we know what to do? This change in which thought system will support is the ultimate doom of the ego and all that would bear false witness on the ego's behalf. This asking is the request for the remembrance of God. Vision will be restored and the voice within for Christ will be heard.
The Holy Spirit can give you faith in holiness and vision to see the holiness and vision of truth easily enough. But you have not left open and unoccupied the altar of truth where the gifts belong. Where the gifts of holiness and vision should be placed on the altar of truth, you have set up your idols to something else, which is the altar to the false. In the egoic desire for illusions, which is pretty pathetic on our part when you look at the big picture, this other will, which seems to tell you what must happen, you give reality to the false. Whoops, I didn't read that well at all. In the egoic desire for illusions, this other will, the real one, which seems to tell you what must happen, you give reality to the false. Lee, I can't make sense out of this one. There's too many different people here.
It feels that way. So, in the egoic desire for illusions, this other will, that's our egoic will, our
Is it?
our meat puppet, yes, this other
All
will
right.
which seems to tell you what must happen, you give reality to the false. So the reality there is belief in the dream that we're living, belief in the little r reality. So in this specific thing, it's our egoic desire for illusions, are the times when the dream is going well, we love the dream, we want to stay in the dream. The time when the dream's going terrible, we don't want to stay in the dream. The problem is we assign a positive or negative value to it. It's our judgment and egoic desires that make us want to stay in that reality.
I like your phrase, assigning a value to it, a plus, or what did you say?
Judgment.
A good or bad, a judgment. That's exactly what the tree represented in the Garden of Eden story.
Hmm.
They said, don't eat the apple from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
And people approach that also as a false god, as
Thought it would be great to be able to know this is good, that's bad.
yep, the golden calf that will provide.
Mm-hmm.
The gifts of holiness and vision should be placed on the altar of truth. You've set up your idols, something else, which is the altar of the false. In the egoic desire for illusions, this other will, which seems to tell you what must happen, you give reality to the false. And what would show you otherwise, the truth, must therefore seem unreal. All that is asked of you is to make room for the truth. You're not asked to make or do what lies beyond your own understanding. All you have to do is let the truth in. All you're asked is only to stop your interference with what will happen of itself.
Get out of the way.
All you are asked is simply to recognize again the presence of what you thought you gave away, which was the truth.
Sometimes, in trying to explain how absurd the ego mind is, it, it, it becomes almost illogical and it's hard to follow which is which. And when you don't have these um, bold words to at least specify what the pronoun in the original text is, it becomes even more discombobulated. But I like just above at the top there, let the truth in. You know, there's let it go and then let it be. But in this case, it's let it in, let the truth in. Okay, go ahead and read note number 19. Your voice is off, you're mute.
We are not asked to come up with our own plan for the correction of the error of separation. We're
That's
merely asked to silence the egoic thought system long enough so that the voice for truth can be heard. To believe that the insane will develop a plan for the return to knowledge is just another clever trickery, disguise attempt by the ego to maintain control over the decision making part of our mind. We must freely give our decision maker over to the guidance of the Holy, only the Holy Spirit.
Be willing for an instant to leave your altars free of the egoic idols for the false that you placed upon him. And what is really there on your altars, which is the innocence and holiness of the sonship, you cannot fail to see. The holy instant is not an instant of creation, but of recognition. That's a pretty strong sentence. That instant is recognizing what's really happening. For recognition comes of vision and suspended judgment. Then only After the recognition of vision and suspended judgment, is it possible to look within the altar for truth and see what must be there, plainly in sight and wholly independent of egoic inference and judgment? Interference would have been.
And judgment right there. It's amazing. It's right there in black and white.
That's right. Undoing is not your task, but it is up to you to welcome the undoing or not to welcome the undoing. Faith and desire go hand in hand, for everyone believes in what he wants. Faith and desire, hand in hand.
The holy instant, like the miracle, does not change the reality of truth. They both merely allow us to recognize the truth that was already there. The false just disappears, like a shadow going away when light appears. The holy instant and the miracle allow for the removal of all the barriers that hide the truth from our vision. We will merely need to ask for the guidance of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit will do the rest. In order to regain vision, all past judgments must be suspended. We cannot have vision and still try to see by utilizing the eyes of egoic judgment. Vision and seeing are mutually exclusive.
And I can put a different background behind me just by choosing. Down at the beach. We have already said that wishful thinking is how the ego deals with what it wants, to make what the ego wants so. There is no better demonstration of the power of wanting, and therefore of faith, to make the ego's goals seem real and possible. Faith in the unreal leads to adjustments of reality, to make reality appear to fit the goal of madness that the ego desires. We project our desired result onto the world of our perception. We make adjustments to the truth of reality so that the false now appears true. The goal of sin induces the perception of a fearful world to justify sin's purpose, which is the confirmation that the separation is real and that your will is different from God's will. What you desire, you will see. And if what you desire's reality is false, you will uphold what you desire by not realizing all the adjustments you have introduced into true reality to make what you desire now appear to be so. That's a very powerful statement.
It sure is. Wow. We have made up some convoluted reasons for why we are right a lot in
Mhm.
life. And that is absolutely one of the things I'm trying to get rid of too. The true cannot be made false. Therefore, we cannot change the reality of the eternal truth. Yet we can choose to deny the truth. Due to the power of our mind, within the dream of separation, our wish is our mind's command. Being the dreamer, we can adjust the dream to fit what we wish to experience. The cause of the authority problem is not the dream itself, but rather the dreamers identifying themselves as powerless players within the dream. If we had merely observed the thought of separation without judging it as either good or bad, we would not have made the separation appear real. It's the judgment that does that for us. It's the judgment that colors it, that gives it emotion and makes it good, bad, and then gets us pissed off or happy or grateful or
And,
anything other than neutral.
and when it's good, it might really be bad, but we say it's good, so we start believing it, and vice versa. It's a mess.
It's a mess. Fear would not have entered our mind if that stuff hadn't happened, though.
That's right.
And then it was our judgment of the dream as something other than a neutral thought in the mind of God that
Hmm.
resulted in our identification with the dream and made the separation appear real. Love allows all and does not judge. Now, however, due to our judgment of the false illusion, there was something that appeared to be outside of the oneness that we could and must fear. Judgment changed knowledge into perception and appeared to shatter the certain oneness,
The
the
certainty
whole,
of
the certainty of
oneness.
the oneness as a whole. Yep, yep.
It's so what is actually bad for us is that we think it's bad or we think it's good, which actually makes it even worse because then we go after that good, which in one case would be money, and it's how the idolizing of money and wealth and accumulation and stuff wrecks our life sometimes because that's what we want. That's what we want. That'll make us happy instead of actually seeing things for what they are and allowing the ideas to just flow. When vision is denied, confusion of cause and effect becomes inevitable. The purpose of the denial of vision now becomes to keep obscure the cause of the effect and make effect appear to be a cause. This seeming independence of effect enables the effect to be regarded as standing right out there by itself and capable of serving as a cause of the events and feelings its maker thinks the effect has caused. But it doesn't work that way. And sooner or later, it's going to poof. Earlier, we spoke of your desire to create your own creator and be father and not son to your own creator. This is the same desire. The son is the effect whose cause the father, the split minded son, would deny. Let me say that sentence differently. The son is the effect whose cause the father, the split minded son, would deny. And so the split minded son seems to be the cause, producing real effects. Nothing can have effects without a cause, and to confuse the two is merely to fail to understand both cause and effect.
One of the fallacies, there's so much packed in there. There's so much I want to say, but it's also feels like it doesn't need a comment. It's
Say it.
it's our judgment. It's our judgment that gets in our way. It's our judgment that colors what we see and keeps it from being neutral. And that is kind of the key thing. It's if you could be neutral about something and not be bothered by it, then all of your days can be filled with peace. And you've truly made it into a heavenly place on
And you
earth.
can accept everything. Acceptance becomes the way out. It's you can't do it if you're judging everything.
Atonement leads to forgiveness, leads to at one. One of the fallacies of the egoic thought system is that we are self created because we claim to be unlike God. Self created because we're not that which created us, we're apart from it. We deny God's power of creation, which is simply an extension, like the sun shining outward, rather than realizing that everything flows from the power of God, like the sun going outward. We claim that we can make without the unlimited power of God as our co creator. That would be like a solar panel saying that it doesn't really need the sun in order to shine on it to do what it needs to do. This is the way ACIM, Course in Miracles, states that by myself I can do nothing. Yet through me, God can do everything. All power flows from the mind of God. God is the Father. His Son can have children of his own, and this would make the Father a grandfather. The Son cannot give birth to the Father. The mind of God is the creative source. The egoic mind that claims to create without acknowledging God as the true source of creative power can only make illusions based on its belief in limitations. Illusions have no reality outside the insane mind of the dreamer.
It is as needful that you recognize you made the world you see as that you recognize that you did not create yourself. The denial that you made the world you see and your claim that you created yourself are the same mistake. Nothing created not by your creator has any influence over you. And if you think what you have made can tell you what you see and feel, then place your faith in the effect having the ability to tell you what you see and feel. You are denying your creator and believing that you made yourself. Or if you think the world you made has power to make you what the world you made wills, you're confusing Son and Father, effect, and source.
An effect cannot impact its cause. Whatever we make cannot have domination over its maker.
Dominion, same thing.
An effect always traces its origin back to its cause, which is source or creator. We make this world of provisional reality, so it's our effect. This world we made cannot cause us to do anything. An effect cannot have control over its maker, for the effect's own existence depends solely upon the constant flow of creative energy from its maker and source.
That's a great statement there to remember where it's coming from, as opposed to having an idol or something else that you think is what's making you happy.
Without this flow of energy from the effect source, the effect would cease to be. Without the creative thoughts of the dreamer, the illusion ceases to exist. Although this world can cause us to do nothing, we can deny that we're the source of this world. In this case, our denial of our sourceness would make it appear that we are innocent victims of our own effect, as though we're not in control of our thoughts, which is the dream world we perceive to be outside of our own mind. That's the view of this world that we're kind of madly going through. By denying that we made this world of colored reality, we claim that we're powerless to change our world, the way that we look at things.
Victim consciousness.
The world appears to have self created itself.
Wait a minute,
We,
Ray. You skipped a line.
oh, did I? The world seems to now have an independent autonomy over which we have no control. Yes. The world seems to have self created itself. We have confused effect with cause, and the confusion appears to have abdicated our creative power and handed it over to our effect. The effect, the dream, now appears to be the cause of what we, its dreamer, are or is.
It's so crazy right now to try and read this because it's explaining how crazy things are. And we're trying to use logic to get that.
Right, but we're looking at it from the other side, and it's hard to go back, and it does really feel like we're in the torrent of a river, but the river is simply flowing through us so fast that it's mystifying. I don't know. I don't know.
It is. It's a lot of confusion and it's very interesting. It's
Once
hard
you get to a place where you're not judging the torrent of the river, it's a tiny little stream. But getting to the point where the raging river that you're in when you're in your teens, in your 20s, it goes simply flowing through us so
Oh.
fast that it's I think I don't know.
It's a lot of confusion, and it's very interesting.
Dad, I think the stream just ended and I got kicked off the thing and YouTube just started up like it was the end of the thing, so we just got cut off.
Even though we're supposedly doing something here. So why don't we just end this and then we'll figure out what happened.
Sounds good. All right.